Hello everyone, welcome back to the Fabrication Shop. Today we'll be looking at how we prepare the rocket for paint and get a nice finish. If you're new to the channel, we want to encourage you to subscribe and hit the bell so that you can be notified when we drop our next video. We want to start this video with a little bit of bad news about the video, and that is the footage we shot for this episode got corrupted and was lost. The good news is the techniques we used on the Explorer Alpha is the same ones that we have used on other models, so we have video and pictures from those other projects. So in this video, the pictures and video you'll see are from different rocketry projects, but the technique has remained the same across all of them. We felt it was better to use different video of different rockets than to skip over this process completely. So with that bit of a disclaimer, let's get started. We're going to use this technique to help seal the wood grain in the balsa and the spirals on the body tube. Now, you don't need to do this prior to painting. And in fact, you don't need to paint the model at all in order to fly it. However, if you want to deliver a nice professional looking model, this technique will help you out. So in this process, I use a water-based wood filler, a small mixing cup, a stir stick, a cheap brush, some water, and sometimes I'll use a toothpick. We start by adding some of the wood filler into the little mixing container. Then I'll add a small amount of water and begin to mix it in. You want to add enough water so that you get a mixture that has the consistency of a thick paint. Continue to stir this mixture until it's smooth and doesn't have any lumps in it. Now, take your cheap brush and start brushing the filler onto the fins. If it's not going on smooth, add a little more water to the mixture to thin it out. As you're filling the fins, if you find that the brush is starting to get thick and it's starting to harden, simply dip your brush in some water and clean it off. Then go back to brushing the filler back on your model. Make sure you apply filler to all of the exposed edges. Try to keep things smooth. For the smoother you apply the filler, the less sanding you'll need to do later. After you've applied the filler to the fins, it's time to start filling the tube spirals. Now, the quality of the tube will determine how much filler you're going to need to apply here. You can continue to use a brush to apply the filler into the spirals, and you do this by using the edge of the brush. You may also try using a toothpick or even an old knife blade to get the filler down into the seams. Now while you're working on the body tube, don't forget to fill the spirals in the launch lug. Once you have all the fins and spirals filled, let the filler cure completely. If this filler isn't completely dry, when you go to sand it, it's simply going to gum up your sandpaper. Once it's dry, I start by sanding down the fins. Here I use 220 grit sandpaper, and this helps me get rid of any ridges, and I work it until the fin feels smooth overall. Once I get that smooth feeling, I move on with additional sanding using 320 grit sandpaper. Now I'll use the same procedure to sand down the tube spirals. Use a little bit of caution when sanding the body tube. You don't want to sand through the outer wrap of the paper tube. Once you have all your sanding done, take a good look at the model. Are there any bare areas of balsa wood on the fins? Are there gaps in the spiral fillings? If you find any of these, mix up a small batch of filler and apply it to these areas. Just like before, let the filler dry completely before you start to sand. Well, that concludes this episode on preparing the model for paint. In our next episode, we'll look at applying the primer and the start of the color coats. If you've enjoyed this video, and if you like what we're doing here, please click on the like and subscribe buttons. If you hit the bell, you'll be notified when we drop our next video. So until next time, wishing you all the best, and take care.